Welcome back. Problem 4. Evaluate the integral -9 over x squared square root 25 minus x squared dx. So minus x squared tells me x has to be some kind of sign. So 5 sine theta. Okay. So they haven't given us a hint. We will play with 5 sine theta. Okay. Now when x is 5 sine theta, dx is 5 cosine theta d theta. What about square root 25 minus x squared? That is 25 minus, because x is 5 sine theta, you have x squared is 25 sine square theta. 25 is common, 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. Square root of it all is 5 cosine theta. So the whole point of this is to get hold of cosine theta essentially, right? So thus, this integral given to you is nothing but -9 over x squared, that is 25 sine squared theta. Square root of all this we just calculated was 5 cosine theta. Dx is 5 cosine theta d theta. So 5 cosine theta cancel. You are left with -9 over 25 integral 1 over sine squared, that is cosecant squared theta d theta. Integral of cosecant squared is negative cotan, and don't forget constant of integration. Negative and a negative, positive. So 9 over 25 cotan theta. X is 5 sine theta. Square root 25 minus x squared is 5 cosine theta. What is cotan? Cotan is cosine over sine. Since they are both 5, 5, you may as well write 5 cosine over 5 sine. It's still cotan. 5 cosine is all of this. 5 sine is this. So your cotan is this fraction. So 9 over 25. So 9 root 25 minus x squared over 25x plus constant of integration. So let's put that in. Okay. 9 square root 25 minus x to the power 2 over 25x plus constant of integration. Check. Correct. Okay. Next. Integral 1 over root x squared plus 16. Plus tells me I need to take x to be some tan. How much tan? 4 tan, because that's square root of 16. So let's play with this. X equals 4 tan theta. Then dx is 4 secant squared theta d theta. What happens to the square root? Square root x squared plus 16 is square root. 16 tan squared theta plus 16. Get 16 common. Tan squared plus 1 is secant squared. So the entire square root turns out to be 4 secant. Alright. So this integral is therefore, what is dx? Dx is 4 secant squared theta d theta over this square root we just calculated was 4 secant theta. So 4 cancels, one of the secants cancels, you are left with integral secant theta. Well, integration of secant is natural log absolute value secant theta plus tan theta. Now going back, secant theta is all of this over 4. So all of that over 4 plus tan theta is x over 4. Okay. So notice this 4 is a common denominator. So I may rewrite it as numerator over a denominator. You know the properties of natural log. Natural log of a quotient is natural log of the numerator minus natural log of the denominator. Natural log of 4 is a constant. Combine that with this constant, you get a new constant. So natural log of just the numerator part is needed because that's the variable part plus some constant of integration. So you have natural log absolute value square root x to the power 2 plus 16 plus x absolute value plus constant of integration, don't forget that. Good. Next, integral negative 8 square root 1 minus 4x squared. That tells me x is going to be some kind of sine. But because of this 4, think of it as 1 over 4. So x is going to be half sine theta. Okay, so let's try. X is half sine theta. So dx is half cosine theta d theta. What happens to the square root? Square root 1 minus 4x squared is square root 1 minus half sine square theta. So square everything. Square of half is 1/4. So 4 and a quarter cancel. You are left with sine squared. So this expression inside is cosine squared. So square root cosine squared is simply cosine. So this entire radical expression is a cosine theta. So our expression integration now is negative 8, all of this is cosine theta, dx itself is half cosine theta d theta. So half and 8, they resolve to give you 4, negative 4 integral cosine squared d theta. Cosine to the second power is nothing but cosine 2 theta plus 1 over 2. Alright, this is something we learned in our previous section. Now this 2 reduces that 4. Cosine 2 theta plus 1, integral of it. Integration of cosine is sine, but because of the 2 theta, you need to divide by 2. Integration of 1 is simply theta. So 2 times this, they cancel, whereas 2 times theta survives. Notice the negative also gets distributed. Now going back, you want to find out what is theta. Theta is straightforward. Multiply by 2, theta is sine inverse of 2x or arc sine 2x. What about sine 2 theta? This is slightly tricky, not too bad. By formula, sine 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine theta. Sine 2 sine theta. So notice sine theta itself is 2x. So that's 2x. Cosine theta, we just did this calculation, is square root 1 minus 4x squared. So 2 sine theta cosine theta. So that's 4x, this radical expression. So in all, you have negative 4x square root 1 minus 4x squared minus 2 arc sine of 2x plus a constant of integration. Okay. So that's your answer. Negative 4x square root 1 minus 4x to the power 2 minus 2. Sine inverse is arc sine of 2x plus a constant of integration. Check. That's correct. Okay. Next problem. Definite integral 0 to 2 root 3 5x cubed over all of this. This tells me because it's a minus x squared, x is going to be a sine theta. How many sine thetas? Square root of this? 4 sine theta. Okay. So begin with x equals 4 sine theta. Then dx is 4 cosine theta d theta. What about square root 16 minus x squared? That is 16 minus 16 sine squared. 16 is common, 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. Overall, taking square root, you get 4 cosine theta. Now don't forget limits of integration. When x is 0, you have 4 sine theta 0. Sine theta is 0. So theta is 0. When x is 2 square root 3, you have 4 sine theta to be 2 square root 3. So divide by 4, sine theta is root 3 over 2. If sine theta is root 3 over 2, theta is pi over 3. Okay, so this integral is nothing but from 0 to pi over 3, 5 x cubed, all of that cubed, over radical expression which we calculated was this, dx is 4 cosine theta d theta. So notice they cancel. 5 times 640 is 320, and you have your integral. Sine cubed, well, integral of sine cubed, you can separate it out as sine squared and sine. Why? So that sine squared itself can be written as 1 minus cosine squared. Now using substitution cosine to be u, then du will have sine theta d theta with a negative. So all of this, don't forget the limits. When theta is 0, u is 1. When theta is pi over 3, u is half. So this limit, these limits go from 1 to half. There is a negative because you have a negative sine theta d theta. So that negative 1 minus u squared du. Now all the rest is just simple application of the integration and applying the limits. Presumably all my calculation is correct. The rest is simple calculation. I get 200 over 3. Let's check. Over 3. Okay. All right, answer is correct. I'll continue next problem in my next video. Until then, bye.